What is going on, traders? All right, so in this video, I want to talk about some Wyckoff structure, and just pull this down here so you can see the link. It doesn't let me post it in the YouTube comments, but you can screenshot it, pause the video or whatever. Really good document right here for market structure, Wyckoff structure. And I can't really confirm it. I think I've heard it somewhere, but to my knowledge, he's literally the guy that has came up with supply and demand. Basically, that's what moves markets. And when these what he calls them consolidation or distribution periods, when they're happening, like for example, when market is going sideways. Let me just get rid of these oscillators real quick, which can be used to nicely kind of try to pinpoint when those uh, periods will be coming in. When the market's going sideways is really those accumulation or distribution periods, the supply and demand levels will get created. Um, but you can read up more on it there. But ultimately, what the main gist of it is, and this is a great textbook kind of example of it here, and there's a few different scenarios which I'll go through here, but ultimately what you're looking for is a trending motion of sorts. So, kind of clear, again, just those levels, the sideways levels here. We get kind of a clear break higher here as we break above, but really just even from back here, nice clear break above even this kind of structure down here, where we start trending upwards. And you're just looking to identify a most recent trend. In this case, it would be our uptrend, which has some nice, minor little pullbacks, a little pullback there, a little pullback there. And then here we get a nice big pullback. This is what you could classify as a change of character. The characteristics of this uptrend has changed. You know what I mean? This is a daily chart, so you get little pullbacks, pretty, and this is a really nice example of a pretty standard pullback in this uptrend. Little pullback in here, and you get a nice big pullback, right? Not only that, but like it's super obvious here because you get a pullback here. The market tries to rally, even has a nice little pullback there. This would be a great time to go higher to establish something like this, but we don't get it. We get what I would consider a textbook change of character. Whoops, I just got rid of all my indies there, but whatever. So we've got the uptrend, we've got a change of character. In that trend, what follows will be a buying climax, which ultimately is over here. So we've got our change of character, our buying climax, which generally, and I wish I didn't just delete those oscillators, but you can usually see, even just in the awesome oscillator, you'll see some divergence coming in. As you can see here in the awesome oscillator, we've got downwards peaks coming in, upward trend, some nice divergence going on, which is the main reason why I use that oscillator to create the buying climax. We then have an auto rally, which typically will close in just below these kind of levels on the way up there. So again, change character, buying climax, auto rally, a secondary test which falls short, but will come up and kind of test these previous levels. Then a sign of weakness, which can come a little bit lower. It can even not even go quite as low, but this is just a super textbook example of the sign of weakness coming just ever so slightly below the change of character. We then put in an upthrust after distribution, and there's a few different things that can happen here. After that point, we drop down, and you would think that the auto rally, and it could very well come into play to move us higher there. There's our auto rally point right back here. This is a very key level in this whole accumulation distribution period. Um, it could very well have continued higher here. Typically, it would have been like a triangle type of formation higher. Instead, we break lower as we tend to somewhat come up, but we break these kind of previous little levels here are holding. This support back here where the price kind of jumped a bit did not come back into play up here. So as price came into the auto rally level, came back up and continued to fall lower. And once we've really broken these new lows, what we're looking for as the perfect entry, just textbook Wyckoff entry, is this test back into the auto rally level, right? So let me just grab a little box just to get it kind of exact. Me personally, I will just like use the magnet, and whatever time frame I'm on, I'll just kind of pop it onto the kind of the close and the low, and look at that perfect little signal right there. As we come back up, test the auto rally after really showing our true colors, right? If we were to continue higher here, like I said, typically would have been like a triangle kind of formation. We would have came up and tested this kind of thing, and it would have been like this kind of level, even a test back into the auto rally again, even, or just somewhere around here would have been a nice buy opportunity to go higher. But instead, we just immediately hold this level here. We don't even really engage this previous support. And we just drop. And from that, it's basically a downtrend from that point, clearing below the sign of weakness. It's a nice little downtrend, and you could even consider this like a change of character. I wouldn't so much, because I would honestly consider it all part of this formation here, being a change of character, buying climax, auto rally, secondary test, a sign of weakness, an upthrust after distribution, and I would classify this as a spring formation, probably springing us much higher into new highs, but I won't get into that too much here. But yeah, really solid stuff, and let's just go over some of it again. You can see the link there and read through this for yourself, but really the diagrams itself, again, there's the sideways action once price has been oversold. It's just creating these distributions, supply and demand levels, where price goes sideways before rallying, price goes sideways before dropping. And it's these points when you want to get involved. And here is much more specific, and he does get into defining all of them there, so you can check that out. I kind of have my own spin on it, but it's very close to his work there, where you can see this kind of change of character, selling climax, just a reverse perspective of it, auto rally, secondary test. We then have I forget what this is called again, just, and it's phases. These phases are very key, right? This first phase is we're dropping down. This is a kind of the phase A, where it shows that change of character, and then the sell and climax, auto rally, secondary test. Me personally, this is where I label it a little different. I would call this the change of character right here. This the secondary test, or this the sign of weakness, and so on and so forth. And this would actually be my spring formation, as it does go a little bit lower, or just like it's showing here, an upthrust after distribution. It goes slightly higher. Here it goes slightly lower into a spring formation. You really do got to get your own feel for it, but generally the action is the same. There's a change of character, puts in a low, then creates the auto rally, which is the very important part going forward. So that creates that phase A, creates that phase B, where things will just go sideways. This is a beautiful time to be trading the range, buying at the lows here and selling at the highs. And there's all sorts of different structures that can take place in here, especially when you go to lower time frames. But ultimately, it's these later phase C, where you're looking for that clarity. Is it a spring formation that's happened, or like I said, sometimes you'll just get change of character by climax, auto rise, secondary test, and you won't get this upthrust after distribution. It'll just kind of chalk around here and drop, and then sometimes come right back up and do this kind of thing again before dropping, or if it's long, it'll come up above the auto rally, very key point, and come back down into it. That is a beautiful buying signal right there before rallying. It's really just watching price bounce around that auto rally point. There's a couple different ways. This can get a little confusing in here. You know, is it creating the up thrust? Is it going to make that higher high, or is it going to drop from here and continue sideways in here into that range behavior like this here has? But in this case, in the later stages, puts in that spring lower. We then start to rally. So phase C, really popping, really giving us some clear sign. Okay, we've got that spring lower. It really has gone much lower. In this case, in Bitcoin's example, it's created that higher, which is called the up thrust after distribution, which you'll see in there as well. This is a beautiful time to be finding that low or that short, especially when just the general kind of channel to the upside is broken. That trending behavior is broken in here. Any of these little highs in here, beautiful sell signals on pullbacks. Again, indicators come in nicely there, just moving averages and things like that, getting engaged, beautiful sell opportunities all in there. But it is these really later stages, right, of the phase D and E, which is when you want to be getting involved. So let me just remove these indicators. Ultimately, that would look something like this, where we've got this, phase A could start, right about when you see that change of character up into the buying climax, phase A. Phase B kind of in here, right, where it can get a little, there's a couple different potentials in here for your phase B, phase C, and phase D when it's coming back up to test. It's made that clear break lower here. It's coming back up to test that auto rally point and dropping lower, right? So really nice price action there. And if you continue to scroll lower, there's the other schematic on the sell side where it doesn't break that lower low, right? Like it does here. It doesn't put the spring formation in. Just another example of that really sideways action, selling these highs, buying these lows before the price rallies higher, which is this here, before it starts to rally back up. On the other side of things, this is exactly what Bitcoin has done. We've got our change of character, our up thrust after distribution, or our buying climax rally, or rather our auto rally. It just looks a little slightly different. Secondary test, sign of weakness coming lower below the auto change of character. We've got our up thrust, and again, it's a little different. Really more like this example here. Again, just 4 different examples. It's just the basic structure of it that every time a market is going to be reversing to the upside, when it does this formation, there's a couple different formations that'll take place in here to have it reverse, and it's really just depending on positions. If you start buying right here, chances are it's going to put in that spring formation lower. And that's the whole accumulation distribution idea, that someone's moving the markets and they will knock you out of trades by driving the price lower here. You will get stopped out of your buy here, then they'll run the market higher. Same idea though, if you start buying up here, or even chasing it in around here, they'll just stop it dead right there and they'll drop it lower there. Or if you try to be calling sells in here, that's when they'll run it a little higher and it'll come. So you really need to respect that trade range, and you need to be getting involved in those right times, right? So you need to be getting involved in a buy on the lows here. You can sell in the range up here. You need to be selling at the highs in here and buying in the lows down here, right? But that is my spin on Wyckoff. I could talk for days about this. Really great system. Gets more complex as you go lower in time frames. That is the gist of it on the higher time frames. But I'm going to wrap this up here. Hope everybody's having a great weekend. Stay safe. Peace.